An unknown number of patients potentially infected by unsterile surgical equipment at Baystate Wing Hospital in Palmer. Welcome everyone to Western Mass News at 6 on this Friday. I'm Chris Pisano. Western Mass News reporter Addie Patterson now joins us live in studio after speaking with an attorney about these types of situations. Addie.
The attorney I spoke with says those who were affected by this incident can potentially put in a claim even if they test negative for infection.
The people that are affected, it's a long-term kind of thing that they're dealing with.
Some Baystate Wing hospital patients have been notified about possible infection after the hospital detected a potential sterilizer issue with its surgical equipment. The Department of Public Health tells Western Mass News they were notified by the hospital about the potential sterilizer unit failure, which they say happened over a 2-day period back in February. Baystate has determined the risk of possible infection to patients is low and say they have notified all the potentially impacted patients, recommending they receive blood-borne pathogens testing. The testing, screening for diseases like hepatitis and HIV. Western Mass News spoke with local attorney Rob DeTusa. He tells us patients who were affected by the incident potentially have the right to a claim for damages.
Those damages could be anything from emotional distress damages all the way to something catastrophic if they were to have contracted something like hepatitis or HIV from the unsterilized instruments.
We also reached out to Baystate Health regarding this incident. They wouldn't share the number of patients impacted, but in a statement said, in part, all patients who required outreach have been notified by their provider, and we have not identified any illness or infection related to this. The Department of Health tells us Baystate Wing has proactively instituted corrective action, including re-education and retraining. They also tell us the sterilizer unit's manufacturer has been on site to validate that the sterilizer is operating correctly. Reporting live in studio, Addie Patterson, Western Mass News.